We then move on to the third vibration, which is another feminine vibration of the Empress. And I understand that it's the frequency of love. And in this, can you talk a little bit about that frequency?
Yeah, we're moving right into that, right? Because we got from the High Priestess to love, and that's her secret art, right?
Yes.
So the Empress, I was just really meditating on this last night. So, and this is another thing that Blake actually says in his poetry. Imagine the cosmos, this vast thing that extends for, light years and light years and light years, and Google light years, it's supposed to be infinite, right? It just goes like forever. And so all that time space that exists. Now imagine that as a womb, that's actually something that's gestating everybody's soul that lives within that vast, vast time space. And it's not particles split up into, gazillion different fragments. It actually has the wholeness, the containment of a womb. And that womb, its essence is love. And so that essence is the essence of nurturing, just like the womb nurtures the fetus into becoming a living, breathing being, being ready to become a living, breathing being. That's nurturing all of our individual souls, our individual consciousnesses to become the fullness of ourself. And in the Tantric Tarot, the way this actually works in terms of an activity that you do is the magician, being the primary male phallic being, is the seeder. He creates seeds and he drops those seeds into the womb. And the womb grows them. The womb nurtures them. The womb teaches them. The womb shows them how to unfold and grow and gives them the energy and nourishment they need to grow and unfold. Now this creates an interesting problem because, oak seed can only become an oak tree. And thief seed can only become a thief. So if your intent is to become the greatest thief in the world, the womb will nurture you to become the greatest thief in the world with all of its advantages and all of its disadvantages.
It depends on the bindu that you put in the intention.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so
is this the utility of mantras, and particularly Bij mantras in this school?
Sure. Mantras are seeds, like as you're saying, and they're certain sound frequencies, and they've each been, just like we were talking about, the Creator created the entire cosmos out of a mantra. Just the same way, we become the creator when we chant a mantra and we create a certain frequency band of the entire cosmos. So one way to look at this is to sort of make a distinction that not everybody makes, but I think it's a useful one, between cosmos and universe. The universe sort of means one verse, right? So it's one verse of the cosmos. It's one way of thinking of it. We usually think about the universe as everything, right? All of everything. But we can also say that there's many universes. So right now, there's the universe of me that I'm creating in this moment through all of everything that I'm in consciousness with. And there's the universe that you're creating right now. And those are two completely different universes. And yet, just like that Venn diagram where something intersects, those two universes are interacting with them. But the Empress is this huge, huge cosmos that contains everything, all the different multiverses, all the different universes that Satnarayan creates, that Guru Charan creates, that my cat Garcia creates, that the blade of grass over there creates, that lamp that we think of as an inanimate object is actually creating a universe around it, and it's like, that's why it's so important to set your environment, because everything that you put in your environment is going to become this part of the multi-universes that are going on in your place. That's why it's so important, to recognize who it is in a group of people that you are, because they're all creating the experience of that group consciousness that you're in. And, we have this horrible tendency that, we're trying to really break by working with the circle rather than the line, which is that, when we come into a group, we want to go to a concert and look at the people on the stage, and everybody focuses towards that way, But, like, what I really loved was, the Grateful Dead concerts that I used to go to, because they still had to deal with the physical, sort of accoutrements of a stage and, seats in an audience, and that became more and more the case, as they had to make more and more money to support their whole, thing that got so big.
And more people had to sit down for the concert for that matter.
Right, exactly. But at the beginning, the way the Grateful Dead started was they started at working with Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters and the acid tests. And, in that sense, there was no stage. There were places where the instruments were, but they were on the same level as everybody else, and anybody could walk up and interact with the musicians. And there were so many microphones around that the music could be playing, and somebody could just pick up a microphone and start wailing on it at the same time as the music was playing. And something that they actually were able, in true magic fashion, and as the band, sort of incarnated into their other evolutions as the years went on, was that they kept that sense that what happened at the concert was not what the musicians were doing. It was happening between the interaction of the consciousness of the people in the audience, that they were actually, it's almost, at some points I would get the sense, and I know, I've read and talked to thousands of people who have described the same experience. It was almost as if the audience was playing the musicians. Like the audience were the musicians, and they were sending their vibe to the musicians on the stage, and that's what they would play on their instruments, is what was coming out of the audience.
Wow. And so in a sense, that's a beautiful metaphor for the functionality of the Empress in that regard. Like, functionality is not quite the word I'm looking for, but like the action of the Empress.
Yeah.
Say, that it's the love that then begins to...
It contains everything.
Yeah.
It contains everything and makes use of everything, just the way, a mother, when she's got her baby in her womb, makes use of everything she takes in, right? Everything she eats is going into the quality of her blood, and that blood is feeding the fetus and nourishing the fetus and helping the fetus to grow into what they're, and just the same way, the Empress, but in a much larger scale in this cosmic way, is nurturing whatever intention, whatever seed that you decide to plant in her. And she's very loving, and and what I want to say about that is she does no judgment about that. She loves her kid who grows up to be Adolf Hitler just as much as she loves her kid who grows up to be Mahatma Gandhi, and she will nurture their being and their essence and what they have chosen to become in their life, the seeds that they've chosen to plant, and she will, Mahatma Gandhi has to live with the joys and sufferings of the choices he made to be Mahatma Gandhi, and Adolf Hitler has to live with the joys and the sufferings that he chose by, seeding the qualities that he decided to seed in his life. And that's true for all of us. It brings me back to the magician, though, the first frequency, the frequency of intent. Because what's magical about intent is that you can change it on a dime. You could be working on the same intent for 20 years. I am going to create, I don't know how long it took James Joyce to write Ulysses, but it's a really freaking long book. So, like many years, that's the, woke up, that's what I'm doing today. I'm creating Ulysses, and he did that until the thing, found itself into the world. But you could start that with your intention, and you can go like, Ulysses, it really isn't the book that I want to write. For a while, for 2 years, I thought I was going to do that, but something else is evolving in me, and I'm going to change my intent. It's hard to do. You build momentum with an intent, especially if you do it for a long time. It's part of what we work with in yoga and sadhana, is that momentum of an intent through commitment that's extended through time space for, a lot of time space. But we have the ability to change on a dime, change our intent on our dime. Our intent is anything we choose. We have so much freedom. It's infinite freedom. Now, just the way it takes 9 months to grow a baby out of a sperm and an egg, it's not like we have this magician's freedom that I'm going to change my life from living in Portland to living in Morocco, and that necessarily that's going to happen. Like right when you change your intent, it might take a year for you to get from Portland to Morocco.
Like some level of discipline and a shift in consciousness and a shift in mind.
And what's happening there is the Empress, right? She's taking your new intent and she's starting to grow it. But when it's a new intent, it's starting from that microscopic little seed. And so it has to go through the whole thing of growing. And that's this. We are in, if you really look at it, and this is one of the things that like Jean Houston was teaching me the other night that I just loved. She had this exercise where you're actually sort of accessing the quantum creative energies of the universe. And she said, like, actually move your hands as you're doing this and actually feel that you're moving through this vibratory field. And if you do it, and especially if you meditated for a while and built up some sensitivity to your aura and to subtle energies, you can actually feel it. I am right now, the Empress is everywhere, right? Extending throughout the vast cosmos. But right now, as I'm moving my hands, I am caressing her. I could hit her if I wanted to do that. I don't know. She would, but she's vast. She could take that too, and she could create some kind of child out of my, more like aggressive action too, and does all the time, right? We see that aggressive action sprouting in different manifestations, whether it's in nature with a volcano or it's in a human being, of somebody who wants to be violent in their life. The Empress is growing all of those things too. But she is actually a living presence who's right here. And just like a lover, to bring out the love in their beloved, wants to lovingly touch and caress, to evoke that love and caress out of their beloved, to come back to them. We can do the same thing. We don't have to go to Greece or to the Golden Temple in India or any place on the earth to do it, because she's everywhere. Her womb is contained in everything, and right here we're in the presence of the goddess, and we can touch her. We can actually touch her with our physical hands. And what was so amazing about that exercise, and I can feel it right now too, and ever since I tuned into it, that's what we're doing with the Tantric Tarot, is it's just about tuning into frequencies, you know, and you tune into that frequency, and wherever you are, you can feel her, like tactically, feel her. And that again is what the poet is trying to do. The poet is trying to bring the creation alive through his consciousness, through his words, through his communication, through his song, through his inspiration, having actually a living interaction with his beloved, who might be a muse in a particular form of a woman or a man or whatever that muse is for that poem, but also as a gateway to this more cosmic experience of the totality of everything that the poet knows and has experienced in their lives.